My name is Nathan, and if there's one thing life has taught me, it's that being responsible doesn't mean life will go smoothly. My wife, Jenna, and I had a decent marriage. Nothing perfect, but nothing catastrophic either. We had our disagreements like any couple, but we managed to keep things together. That was until she brought up her brother, Victor. That conversation changed everything. Jenna came to me one evening, looking concerned. She told me Victor had been evicted from his apartment and had nowhere to go. He'd been hopping from one friend's couch to another, and she wanted him to stay with us temporarily, just until he got back on his feet. The moment the words left her mouth, I already knew what my answer would be. No. Plain and simple. She was caught off guard. She thought I'd say yes just to make her happy, but I wasn't about to invite disaster into my home. Victor wasn't just down on his luck. He was the cause of his own problems. The guy spent money like it would never run out, chasing after every flashy lifestyle trend without thinking about tomorrow. This wasn't his first eviction, and if history had taught me anything, it wouldn't be his last. Every time he ran out of money, he suddenly became a more reasonable person. But the second he had cash in his hands, irresponsible spending, reckless decisions, and a complete lack of accountability. I told Jenna exactly that. I told her that if we let Victor into our home, he wasn't leaving in a few weeks. He was staying indefinitely. I had supported him before, tried to help him make better choices, but he never learned. The only time Victor ever changed was when he had no choice. If he moved in with us, that choice would be gone. He'd have free shelter, free food, and my wife enabling him every step of the way. I wasn't going to let that happen. Jenna was stunned. She couldn't believe I was saying no. To her, it was just a temporary arrangement, just family helping family. She started throwing words at me, calling me harsh, selfish, uncaring. She kept saying I was acting like letting her brother stay for a few weeks was some kind of crime. But I stood my ground. I wasn't being cruel. I was being realistic. That's when the real battle began. Jenna didn't let it go. The next few days were filled with an unbearable coldness. She barely spoke to me unless it was to bring up Victor again. When she wasn't giving me the silent treatment, she was nagging, throwing little jabs, making passive-aggressive comments, and blowing up over minor things. I thought she'd tire herself out eventually, but a week later, she was still at it. I came home one evening, exhausted from work, and the tension in the house was suffocating. I knew the second I walked through the door that I had two choices: keep fighting this battle or give in. And in that moment, I did something I'd regret. I let out a breath, looked at her, and said, "Fine. Your brother can stay." Her entire face changed. The coldness vanished. Suddenly, she was all over me, smiling, hugging me, kissing me. It was like flipping a switch. But as she held on to me, relief in her voice, I felt something else entirely. A deep, sinking feeling in my gut. Like I had just opened the door to something I wouldn't be able to close. And I was right. When Victor first moved in, I wasn't happy about it, but I wanted to believe that things wouldn't be as bad as I imagined. For the first few days, everything seemed fine. He mostly kept to himself, and Jenna was happy to have her brother around. I figured if he was serious about getting back on his feet, he'd start looking for work soon. But it didn't take long before I started seeing the real problem. Every evening when I got home from work, I'd find Victor doing the exact same thing, lounging around in the living room, feet up on my couch, glued to his phone or watching TV. It didn't matter if I left the house early in the morning and came back late at night. He was always in the same spot. The fridge, constantly raided. The dishes, stacked up in a sink. He wasn't contributing in any way, not even with basic house chores. I tried to nudge him in the right direction, to at least make it seem like I was giving him a fair shot. "So Victor, any luck finding a job?" I asked him one evening. He barely looked up from his phone, just smirked and said, "Do I really need to work?" as if the idea itself was ridiculous. That answer hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. He wasn't just struggling to find work, he had no interest in it. At first, I thought he just needed some help. So, I pulled a few strings and got him connected to some job opportunities, even some easy roles in my own company. He didn't even bother considering them. Instead, he laughed and brushed them off, saying, "Man, those jobs are beneath me." I'm working on something big, and I don't need distractions. But I saw no big project or plans for one. Just laziness disguised as self-importance. Meanwhile, his spending habits didn't slow down. He wasn't earning a dime, but somehow he always had money for takeout, new sneakers, and the latest gadgets. That's when I realized the pattern. He wasn't spending his money. He was spending Jenna's. She had started giving him cash whenever he asked, and when she didn't have enough, she turned to me. "Babe, Victor just needs a little to hold him over," she'd say, as if I was being unreasonable. When I pointed out that he was rejecting perfectly good jobs, she scoffed. "Let the poor boy breathe. He's not like you. He has his own way." I concluded that Jenna wasn't just helping her brother. She was enabling him. And no matter how much I tried to reason with her, she refused to see the truth. One morning, I was at the dining table, sipping my coffee and going through some emails, trying to mentally prepare for the day ahead. Jenna was in the kitchen, humming to herself, and Victor was slouched on the couch, scrolling through his phone as usual. Nothing about the morning seemed different until Victor suddenly got up and walked straight toward me. He didn't ask Jenna for money this time. He didn't even try to butter me up or make some half-hearted excuse. He just stood there, arms crossed, and said, "I need your credit card to make a payment." I barely looked up. "For what?" He exhaled loudly, as if I was wasting his time. "It's an emergency." I already knew what was coming. What kind of emergency? He rolled his eyes, like I was being difficult on purpose. "I just need it. I'll pay you back." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Victor, you don't even have a job. How exactly are you paying me back?" That's when his attitude shifted. His lazy posture straightened, and his voice got sharper. "Look, man, don't make this difficult. Help me if you are going to." I set my coffee down and stared at him for a long second. He wasn't joking. In his mind, I owed him this. I shook my head. "No." Victor looked over at Jenna, expecting her to jump in. And she did. Jenna stormed out of the kitchen, her face twisted in outrage. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped. "It's just a card, Nathan. Why are you acting like this?" I turned to her, trying to process what I was hearing. "You think I should just hand over my credit card, without even knowing why, because he says it's an emergency?" Jenna scoffed. "Oh, so now you don't trust my brother?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. In one fast, reckless motion, Jenna grabbed the steaming coffee mug off the table and flung it at me. I didn't have time to react. The burning liquid splashed across my face, scalding my skin and soaking into my shirt. Pain seared through me, but I didn't move. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just sat there, staring at her. The heat on my skin, nothing compared to the cold realization settling in my chest. Jenna's eyes widened for a split second. Maybe she hadn't expected to do it, but she recovered quickly, crossing her arms as if she was the victim. "You're so selfish, Nathan," she spat. "You think everything has to be on your terms. You think you're better than everyone else." I wiped my face with the napkin beside me, still silent. Something inside me had shifted. Something deeper. Something final. I wasn't listening anymore, because at that moment, I knew I was done. I waited until they left the house. Jenna, probably out running errands, and Victor, off to God knows where to leech off someone else for the day. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a small bag, and packed only what I needed. Some clothes, important documents, my laptop, and my phone charger. Everything else, they could have it. I wasn't coming back. Before leaving, I tore out a page from a notepad on the kitchen counter and wrote a single sentence. "I'm gone. You both need to leave this house." I left the note on the dining table, right next to Jenna's half-empty coffee mug. When Jenna and Victor returned later that evening, I imagine they saw the note, exchanged looks, and probably burst into laughter. They would have thought I was bluffing, throwing another one of my serious moments that Jenna always brushed off. She must have assumed I'd come crawling back, or that she could call me in a few days, shed some fake tears, and I'd just forget everything. But this time was different. I was simply done. The first thing I did when I got to my new place was cut her off financially. I logged into my banking apps and started shutting everything down. Every account she had access to frozen. every card she could use, disabled. No more auto transfers to her personal account. No more unlimited spending at my expense. She didn't even realize it yet, but the free ride had officially ended. But that was just the beginning. The house we were living in, it wasn't even in my name. Legally, I never owned it. My company did. And that company, it wasn't even fully mine. It was controlled by my family trust, based offshore. As long as I was living there, Jenna had a place to stay. But now that I had left, the company had every legal right to reclaim the property. She had no clue that she wasn't just losing me. She was about to lose the roof over her head too. Jenna never called me after I left, not even to ask where I was. She assumed she could punish me with silence. But then, the moment she realized she had been financially cut off, everything changed. Her first message wasn't an apology. It was pure rage. A wall of text filled with insults, calling me every name imaginable. You're a pathetic excuse for a man. You're selfish. You'll regret this. That was all I needed to see. She didn't miss me. She missed the lifestyle. Less than a week later, she was served divorce papers and an eviction notice from the company. When she got them, she laughed. People told me she barely glanced at the documents before tossing them aside. She thought it was a joke, a bluff, as if I would panic and take it all back. She had no idea how deep she had pushed me. But reality doesn't wait for people to wake up. The eviction deadline passed, and when it did, there were no second chances. Jenna and Victor were thrown out of the house, forced to leave with whatever they could carry. And that's when the humiliation truly began. No more roof over their heads. No more money flowing in. With nowhere to turn, Jenna had to start selling her jewelry just to survive. Even then, she refused to accept defeat. Instead, she made one last desperate move. She took me to court. She felt she would take her share of the wealth she believed she was entitled to. But she had no idea how finances worked. On paper, I was broke. My assets, locked away in corporations and trusts. Legally untouchable. The judge saw the numbers, and just like that, she walked away with nothing. No payout, no compensation. Just the crushing weight of her own legal debts. For the first time in her life, Jenna had to face the consequences of her choices. No safety net. No backup plan. Just her and Victor, left to fend for themselves. Days after the divorce ruling had passed, and Jenna had exhausted every attempt to reach me. Calls, texts, voicemails. I ignored them all. I had nothing to say to her. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. But she wasn't ready to let go. One morning, as I was settling into work, my office door burst open. It was my ex-wife. My assistant's protests echoed from behind her, but Jenna didn't care. She stormed in, and then, right there in the middle of my office, she dropped to her knees. "Nathan, please," she sobbed. "I have nowhere else to go. No one else to turn to." Her tears fell freely, her shoulders shaking. "I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you. But please, remember the good times. Remember what we had." Her voice broke. "Don't throw it all away." I leaned back in my chair, watching her. There was no anger left in me. No sadness, no resentment. Just cold detachment. "You lost me the day you disrespected me," I said, my voice even. "Throwing coffee in my face over your useless brother. That was bad enough. But taking me to court." I shook my head slowly. That was the final blow. Jenna's lips parted as if to argue, but nothing came out. She knew it was true. I pressed the intercom button on my desk. Security. My tone was firm, unshaken. Escort her out. She is never to return. Her breath hitched. "Nathan, no, please," she whispered, reaching toward me, but I didn't move. I didn't care. 2 security guards entered the room. She turned to them, then back to me, desperation in her eyes. But there was nothing left to say. She didn't fight. She didn't argue. She just let them lift her off the floor. As they led her to the door, she turned one last time, her face filled with regret. But regret couldn't fix the past. The door closed behind her. And just like that, she was gone. You know, looking back, I can't say I didn't see it coming. The signs were there from the start. I just didn't want to believe them. I wanted to believe that my wife, the woman I married, would put our marriage first. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: never ignore red flags. Jenna always had a habit of putting Victor's needs before anything else, but I told myself it wasn't a big deal. I convinced myself that she would eventually draw a line. I was wrong. The moment she threw that coffee in my face over a grown man who refused to help himself, that was the moment I knew I was never her priority. And if you're ever in a situation where your partner chooses someone else over you, don't fool yourself. It's only a matter of time before they show you where you really stand. Another hard truth: enabling a freeloader will destroy your home. Victor wasn't just lazy, he was entitled. He refused to work, rejected opportunities, and expected money to flow his way without effort. But the real problem wasn't Victor. It was Jenna. She defended him, supported his delusions, and even attacked me when I refused to bankroll his lifestyle. That's the danger of enabling someone like that. It doesn't just hurt them, it poisons everything around them. It turned my home into a battleground. And if you let a parasite like that into your life, trust me, they will suck you dry before they even think about standing on their own 2 feet. Now let's talk about something people don't think about until it's too late: protecting yourself financially. People love to talk about love and trust, but when things go south, money becomes war. If I hadn't set up my assets the way I did, Jenna would have drained me. She thought she could take me to court and walk away with half of everything, but legally, I was broke. On paper, I had nothing. That wasn't an accident. That was planning. The house? Not mine. The money? Tied up in trusts and corporations she couldn't touch. Some people might think that's cold, but let me ask you this. Do you think Jenna was thinking about love when she tried to take everything from me? Protect yourself. Because the person you marry today might be the person trying to ruin you tomorrow. And finally, the most important lesson of all: respect is everything. Once it's gone, so is the relationship. The second Jenna disrespected me, our marriage was over. The coffee to my face, that was just the moment I accepted it. But the truth is, she had been disrespecting me long before that. Ignoring my decisions, mocking my concerns, that was the real betrayal. Marriage can survive a lot of things, but the moment you lose respect for each other, it's done. And once it's done, you have to walk away. So where are Jenna and Victor now? Honestly, I don't know. And I don't care. She might be regretting everything or still out there blaming me for her downfall. Maybe Victor finally figured out how to take care of himself, or he found another fool to leech off. Doesn't matter. They're not my problem anymore. But if you take anything from my story, let it be this: watch out for the warning signs, don't let parasites into your life, and never let anyone strip away your respect. If this story hit home for you, do me a favor, like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because trust me, there are a lot of people out there walking straight into the same trap I just got out of.